Okay, so today I'm doing my reading vlog, talking all the books that I have read between the dates of the 16th of April through to and including the 22nd of April 2023. Hi everyone, it's Mr. Francy here, and I hope that you've been having an amazing week so far. Comment below and let me know how your reading week is going. This week, bit of a life update. I wasn't at work this week. I don't want to go into too many details. I just had some medical issues going on behind the scenes, which was incredibly tough to deal with. Wasn't at work, and that those medical issues were physically tough for me to deal with, but the good news was it gave me a lot more time to read. So I got through all my cozies. As I was saying in my last reading vlog, it was cozy reading week. So yeah, was really excited to jump right in and get on to my cozy week. And I also purchased another book, and I'm currently reading that now. So lots to discuss. So let's jump right on in. The first book that I read this week was this book, Apple Cider Slaying by Julie and Lindsay. This is an adult cozy mystery book, and I gave this book 3 stars. Okay, so the basic premise of this book is that we follow Winnie, who is working with her grandmother at her apple orchard. Winnie has always wanted to open her own cider shop, but needs to get bank's funding to do so. However, when the banker does come out to take a look around, he and Winnie find more than they bargained for. Winnie's next door neighbor, an enemy of her grandmother, is found dead, and Winnie's grandmother is the #1 suspect. Winnie sets out to do what she can to find the real killer and to get her grandmother off the suspect list. So, to my thoughts on this book, look, the first half was just not for me at all, and it really had me thinking a lot more strongly about cozies that I'm going to pick up in the future. I've decided I'm going to be more picky with them from now on. The subject matter, or the cozy side, needs to be more intriguing for me, and in all honesty, apples and cider just doesn't really intrigue me. So, yeah. There are a lot of things that intrigue me when it comes to the culinary side of a cozy side of a cozy mystery, but apples just never really intrigued me that much. So there you go. The first half just didn't really work out for me. But the second half of the book was really entertaining, so despite considering DNFing this book early on, I'd very much love to continue on with my journey. I do see similarities between Christmas Tree Farm and this book, but there's enough of a difference for them to be just seen as Julie and Lindsay isms. So it was a great start to the series. I am looking forward to reading book 2, and yeah, not really a lot that I can add to it. I think that the fact that it's a cider shop mystery series and not an apple orchard mystery series has me intrigued to keep going. We spend a lot of the first quarter of the book looking around Winnie's grandmother's apple orchard, and it's just, everyone's different. It just really wasn't entertaining for me. So yeah, that didn't work. But the fact that Winnie wants to be an entrepreneur and open up her own cider shop does have me intrigued. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with book number 2. Is it my favorite Julianne Lindsay book? No, I do still prefer the Christmas Tree Farm series, but ultimately I'm not upset that I read it. I'm glad I didn't DNF and that I made it all the way through, because the second half made up for the first half. 3 stars from me. So the next book that I picked up was this book, Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower. This is book number 1 in the Magical Bookshop mystery series, and I gave this book 4 stars. So the basic premise of this book is that we follow Violet, and honestly, it takes me forever and a day to remember this character's name, because it just seems so random, and that is no offense to anyone named Violet, none at all, but just to have the main character in a cozy named Violet, I don't know, it's just not a name that comes to mind quickly, but that doesn't take away from Violet as a character, because I did enjoy her. I just have trouble remembering her name. But anyway, we follow Violet, who rushes back home to Cascade Springs to her grandmother's bookstore, Charming Books, which is so quintessential Amanda Flower to call a bookstore Charming Books. I loved it. Now, she's rushed back to Charming Books because her grandmother has told her she is dying. It turns out this was all a lie. Violet's grandmother wants her back home in Cascade Springs to help her run the bookstore. But there's a magical secret to these books. They speak to me, her grandmother says. What? Violet asks. What indeed? We then meet a man that her grandmother likes who ends up buying a book to do with death, and the following morning he is found outside her grandmother's house dead. With her grandmother being the number one suspect, Violet sets out to determine who the real killer is. I think it was a bit confusing for me at times reading crime and poetry, considering that the number one suspect in both crime and poetry as well as apple cider slaying was the grandmother. So there were moments where I was thinking, hang on, but this can't be this because this is this and that is that. And then going, oh no, wait, no, that was apple cider slaying and this is crime and poetry. Aside from the whole grandma thing and the ensuing mystery of both books, sometimes confusing me because of grandma being the number one suspect, the cozy side is very different. This one is set in a bookstore, and I really did appreciate that. I obviously love reading. I love bookstores. Oh my gosh, I could spend all day at bookstores just browsing and basically sitting there. So that did intrigue me, and that does work for me, unlike the Apple stuff. So to my thoughts on this book, and truly, I love this book. Honestly, the only reason it got 5 stars instead of 4 is because I worked out the reveal way too soon, and when the reveal did come up, it was less of a yay, go me moment, and more of a finally, I've been waiting for this reveal from the beginning. But believe me when I say I am only harsh on Amanda Flower here because of how much I love her as an author, and the rest of the book did not let me down at all. I've begun to notice she always has one or more animal companions in every book she writes, and in this one we have a cat, Emerson, and a big black bird named Faulkner. Her animals never fail to delight, and the sass of Faulkner and the cuteness of Emerson were a real plus to the story. The magic system was really good for a cozy, and all in all I grew to love the book so much. Last year I loved Amish Candy Shop and I liked Amish Matchmaker. This year I think I love this series and like Magic Garden. Praise to dear Amanda Flower. As with my dear Brandon Sanderson, I look forward to the day when I've read all of her works. If there's anything else I want to add, I truly enjoyed it. I love that she adds animals to every book that she writes. You can tell how much Amanda Flower loves her animals. Because in every series, she always has animals. Even in Amish Candy Shop, she has, is it Peter and Paul or something, the goats? And in the Magic Garden series, she has the squirrel. And in the Candy Shop, she has Jethro the pig. And so there's always animals in every book she writes. And I just love that. And I know that cozies tend to do well when they have an animal in there, but usually it's the same animal, whether it's a cat or a dog or something like that. But Amanda Flower just mixes them up all the time, like all different animals that she wants to put in. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So yeah, highly recommend this book and the series so far. I thought it was a whole lot of fun. The magic system, I'm spoiled for magic systems. I've read a lot of fantasy, but for a cozy series where the magic system is always incredibly soft and tries hard not to take over the cozy series itself, the magic system does work, and I really did appreciate that. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. As I said earlier, the reveal was predictable. I worked it out very early on. I don't know if everyone will work out who the killer is as early on as I did, but when we first meet this character that goes on to become the killer, I thought, I think it's you, and it just makes sense to me that it's you. And then knowing that, one thing that I did appreciate about knowing who it was I saw each and every clue, each and every, what I'm sure Amanda Flower was hoping would be a subtle clue to what was going on, I was able to connect it back and go, yep, that makes sense because of this. That makes sense because of that. Yep, that definitely makes it this person because of this. And so does that. And there is that person showing that they are now the killer. Because there's always that moment in a cozy where the main character doesn't have to say, you are the killer, or the killer themselves doesn't have to say, I was the murderer. But there's always something. Like, maybe they grab the main character and put a hand over their mouth or something. Or maybe they hold a gun to their face or something like that. That gives you that clue of going, it's that one. Because why else are you doing this to the main character? And the moment it happened, I went, yep, finally, yay, I was right, I knew it, and I was more confident as we went along. So I'm really happy that I did pick the killer, but I felt that I picked the killer way too early on. But anyway, yeah, 4 stars, and I do highly recommend it. So the final book that I completed this week was this book, Death of a Christmas Caterer, by Lee Hollis, but more technically Lee and Hollis. They're a brother-sister authoring duo. This is book number 5 in the Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series. Bit of background, in case you've just joined me recently. Hello and welcome, my name is Mr. Francy, and transparency is my middle name. If I love a book, you're gonna know it, but what is less common is if I don't like a book, you're gonna know that too. And I did not like book 4 in the, Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series. It just really, in my opinion, was a horrible book. But what really got to me was I gave books 1, 2, and 3 5 stars, and then was really let down by book number 4. So what I decided to do was pick up book number 5, and if book number 5 disappointed me, I would DNF the series, but if book number 5 was good, I would keep going. And book number 5, drum roll please, was amazing! Welcome back, Lee and Hollis. I am so happy they learned from their mistakes. I don't know if the publishing agents just came down on them really hard, or even in a subtle way, and said, you really might not want to do this anymore that you did in book number 4, because book number 5 did not have any of the issues that book number 4 had, which made me so happy. This book was so good, not just because it didn't contain those things that what let me down with book number 4, but also the book on its own. If this was a standalone, I would have enjoyed it as much as I did going in and loving books 1, 2, and 3 of this series. So, the basic premise of this book is that Hayley is given, who is our protagonist, Hayley Powell, is given a promotion as an office manager and is tasked with running the Christmas party. Hayley wants to hire Gareth, a gourmet cook, to do the catering, but when he sees her budget, he decides not to do it. Not too much later, Gareth is found dead on the floor in his kitchen. It's a head-scratcher, as all the doors were locked and Gareth is known for not giving anyone a key. So, did he die of natural causes, or was it murder? So, my thoughts on this book is that it was so much better than book 4. The cozy side was filled with Christmas cheer, and I enjoyed that so much. The mystery side took me a bit to get through, hence giving the 0.5 star deduction, because I gave this 4.5 stars. I don't know if I said that earlier, but I gave it 4.5 stars. So, and yes, just once again, I'll explain that. The mystery side took me a bit to get into, so I deducted 0.5 stars. Honestly, though, this book was the one that would determine if I kept going with the series or not after walking away with a sour-like taste in my mouth with book 4. But if this book is any indication of Lee and Hollis 2.0, I am back and ready to keep reading my way through the series. 4.5 stars overwhelmingly. It was so good. It was so cozy. The cozy side was amazing. The mystery was incredibly intriguing because we have, as I was saying with the premise, we have this guy, Gareth, who is the victim, he's the guy who is killed, but he was in his kitchen. All of the doors were locked. He doesn't give anyone a key. How in the heck did he die? If he was murdered, how did it happen? Because no one was there. He was the only one that was there. So how did he die? It was really good. I enjoyed the reveal. I didn't have too many stakes in trying to work out who the murderer was in this one, so I really didn't care too much who it was, but what I did care about was how they pulled it off. And yeah, the reveal was good. When I got to the reveal, I thought, that actually does make sense, but there you go, that's how it happened. And yeah, so was really good. 4.5 stars. So my advice to you is, if you want to read an amazing series, pick up the Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series, read book 1, 2, 3, skip book 4, read book 5, because it was absolutely amazing. So there you go. Those are the 3 books that I've read so far this week. But I have picked up another book, and I'm very, very happy about that. So, okay. I don't remember when this was. I think it was last weekend or something like that. Yeah, it was. Last weekend I went to... I had an appointment I had to go to for something, and I was very disappointed coming out of that appointment. So disappointed that I said to myself, that's it, dagnammit, I am buying a book, because I am so upset with how things went with this appointment that the only way to change my disappointment is to buy a book. So I went into a bookstore, which I hardly ever do anymore, because a lot of the books that I want to read, you can't get in a bookstore in Australia. So I purchased a lot of my books online. But I knew that this one would be in one of the 2 bookstores we have in our mall, where I live, our local mall. And I went into my favorite bookstore, and they had the book, and I purchased it on the spot, and I'm so happy. So let's put it up on the screen. It is called Behind the Voice by Anthony Kalia. This is an adult memoir following one of my absolute favorite singers of all time, Anthony Kalia. So, for those of you who don't know, Anthony Kalia was a contestant on the 2nd season of Australian Idol, and halfway through the elimination rounds, when you have the top 12 or whatever it is, Anthony sung a song that would go on to change his life forever, and that is the famous song The Prayer, originally sung by Andrea Bocelli, I believe. And Anthony wowed all of Australia who watched this show. And he went on to make it to the final 2, falling out to Casey Donovan, which a lot of people, including myself, found really strange that he would be the runner-up, where honestly, just based on the performances alone, Anthony should have won the show. But as does happen with Australian Idol, I've noticed this, the runner-up seems to become more successful than the winner. And that certainly seems to be the case with Anthony. So Anthony went on to release an album, as a lot of the time will happen when you have your final 2, final 3, whatever it is. They have their moment in the sun, and they want to capitalize on that moment of publicity by creating an album and getting it out there as soon as possible. So Anthony did that. And Anthony just became incredibly successful moving on from there forward. He was a guy who was, just breaking a lot of barriers, because at the time, singing songs like opera songs and stuff like that, such as The Prayer, wasn't very common. And so he broke that barrier into making music like that seem, this shows my age, cool again, because that was the word we used back then, was cool. I don't know what you guys use nowadays. What is it, lit or something? But yeah, we said cool back then. But anyway, and then Anthony also then did something else quite amazing. He came out of the closet as being gay, and it was an amazing moment. A lot of people fully embraced Anthony. He met his husband, who was a semi-famous actor over in Australia, and they ended up traveling to, I think it was New Zealand, to get married, because at the time, gay marriage was not recognized in Australia. So they got married over there, came back here, and since then, gay marriage has been recognized. But Anthony Kalia has gone on to do a lot of amazing things. What I love about Anthony, I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible, but what I love about him is 2 things. The guy has an amazing voice. If you get an opportunity, trust me, look up Anthony Kalia, The Prayer. Listen to any version of Anthony Kalia singing The Prayer. And if you're not blown away, that is absolutely fine. But I am every time I hear it. The guy can sing. But also, he has a heart of gold. Anthony Kalia is probably one of the most charitable people I know, in as far as he does so much giving back to the community and charity work and things like that. So at the end of every year, we have a show that comes on TV on Christmas Eve night called Carols by Candlelight. And this event is a televised event of singers coming out to sing, all different acts that are famous come out to sing a song for Christmas. And during the night, money is raised for children who are vision impaired. And Anthony is actually the ambassador of that charity, but he runs a whole lot of other charities and stuff like that as well. He's just an amazing guy. And so the fact that he released a memoir, I think is just fantastic. Also, Anthony actually narrates his own memoir, which I love. If you're going to release a memoir and you're still alive and you have the capacity to do so, in my opinion, you should narrate that memoir because it makes the experience a lot more personable. So anyway, for all the reasons I've listed, the fact that he's an amazing singer, he came out of the closet, he's done a lot of things for gay rights and things like that as well, which I really do appreciate, and the LGBTIQ plus community in general, which is wonderful. But also all of his charitable work and the fact that he has a heart of gold, and that he narrates the book himself, made me want to read this book. So I have kind of been reading this book off and on since the beginning of last week, but I wanted to get through the cozies first, and then I could just spend as much time as I wanted focusing on his memoir. So I'm currently 4 chapters in. I'm up to page 39, and I am just really, really, really enjoying this book. Anthony's just such a great guy, and I knew that before coming into the memoir, but I did wonder if reading the memoir would change my perspective of him. If anything, it makes me love him even more. He's a stand-up guy, and I really feel that if you're someone who loves reading memoirs, I highly recommend reading this one. There are trigger warnings, and Anthony does state this in the book and in his narration as part of the preface to the book, saying that things like depression and suicide attempts and stuff like that do come up in the book. So if that's a trigger for you, please do be warned. And he also leaves contact phone numbers for people in Australia because he's an Australian, people in Australia to contact if they need that sort of stuff to help them. But aside from that, all in all, it's been a really fun book. I just want to make this point. I know that it shouldn't matter that whether I say this or not, but I want to say it because of just how transparent I am. I am not picking up this book because Anthony Kalia was someone who was on Australian Idol. I got to know Anthony thanks to the fact that he was on Idol, but I've been following Anthony's career since then. And Anthony was on Idol a very, very, very long time ago. I honestly don't remember how long ago it even was. Okay, next year it will be 20 years ago that he was on Idol. So I'm just making a point here, even though it shouldn't matter, that I'm not picking up this book because he was on Idol and therefore, he's a one-hit wonder and I won't read his book because I loved him from the show. No, I have followed his career in those 19, almost 20 years since, and what he has gone on to achieve with his singing, but also because of his name and the fact that he has a heart of gold. He really has done so many things that I look up to him for, and that's why I wanted to read the book. So that shouldn't matter that I'm saying it, but I just want you to know, I'm not picking this up because he was a flash in the pan that was on a reality show, but actually because of the heart and soul of who Anthony Kalia is, and I highly recommend reading it because from what I've read so far, it's absolutely amazing. And if you want to learn more about Australia, Anthony Kalia, get this, he was born and raised not only in the state of Australia that I live in and the city of Australia that I live in, but in the actual suburb that I'm currently living in. So every time he talks about things, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I mean, I literally know what you're talking about, because while I was not born in this particular suburb, it is where I have lived for the past at least 7 years at least. And so it's great, you know, when he's pointing out things in the suburb, and I'm going, I know exactly where this is and this is and whatever. So yeah, anyway, I'm gushing. You gush, Mr. Francy. Yes, I do. I highly recommend reading it, and I've had a lot of fun with it so far. Let's now turn my attention to what I'm going to be doing for this next week. So over the course of the weekend, I'd like to finish Behind the Voice by Anthony Kalia, but if I don't, that's okay. I don't mind if I read it off and on here and there and it takes me the whole month to read, because this book is going to be an enjoyable book for me. It's not on a SAS list, it's not on a Stan list. It is just a book that I am just having fun with. It doesn't matter how long it takes me to get through. But as far as books that were on my original TBR that are scheduled for me to get through, I have 3 left. So in order of me reading them, the first is Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. This is book number 3 in the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy. When I finish this book, I will be closing out that trilogy and will cross it off my SAS list. And then I can do a, what did I call it? CSL? I think I called it. Let's have a quick look at what I called it here. Yes, CSL, Completed SAS List review of the To All the Boys I Loved Before series. And then after that, I'm picking up Never Been Kissed by Timothy Janowski. I am so excited to pick up this book because I read You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince in December by Timothy Janowski. It was such a good book. It blew me away with how good it was. So I need to read more of Timothy Janowski's work, and I'm so happy to read Never Been Kissed. And then if I have time, I will then pick up my last book of the month. If I don't, I'll pick it up right at the beginning of May, which is The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. This is book number 3 in the Chronicles of Narnia series, which is helping me to complete that buddy read that we're doing over on the Discord. But that is it. Those are the books that I've read this week, the book I've started this week, and the books I plan to read next week. So how has your week gone with your reading? Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it. Letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.